guys, what's up? This is Ari in Beijing. Wanted to give you a really cool update on a project I've been working on. It's called NEAT, N-E-A-T. It stands for No English All the Time. And the idea is, so basically I was influenced by a guy who did this thing called All Japanese All the Time, right? And he said, okay, I'm just going to go and only do Japanese my entire life and only use English if I'm absolutely forced to, right? So this kind of makes it a little bit broader. But really the way that I was thinking about it is just for an entire month, right? Just don't do anything in English, right? Or don't do anything that you could be doing in another language in English, right? So no English media. So the idea is no English books, no English TV, no English, magazines or news, right? So in my browser right now, I'm literally blocking like Facebook, Twitter, Google News, Reddit, all that stuff. Literally, you just block it all, right? And so the idea of this is to really force you to start consuming media in the language that you're studying, right? And why this is so amazing and so powerful is that, like, let's say, like me, you're a huge news junkie, right? You're constantly flipping it over into Twitter. Doing this blocking Twitter will force you to actually go and read news in another language, right? Because your energy will naturally try and find the news in the language that you need to be reading, right? So if English is your native language and you are a huge news junkie, well, the quickest way for you to consume news is through English. But if you can't read any English, then you have to go and read the news in the language that you're studying, right? So in my case, Chinese. And what I found is that like I've started doing this, and it's really forced me to consume a lot more media in Chinese, which is really excellent. And it's also actually, interestingly forced me to reevaluate some of my other, let's call them life choices, right? So like with Twitter, for example, I was constantly, I didn't barely even realize it, right? Like I was constantly opening up Twitter, like literally every 5 minutes, right? And it got to a point where I'd be opening up a tab of Twitter and closing the tab before the website even finished loading, right? So what this, English Fast has really forced me to do is really kind of be much more judicious about my news consumption, right? So really force myself to sit down and think, okay, if I only have so long to spend reading news, right, because I read Chinese more slowly than English, then I'm going to be more judicious about which articles I actually pick to read, right? So that's just been really, really massive for me. Another thing that's been huge for me with this English Fast is podcasts, right? Because I listen to a lot of podcasts in English, and with Chinese now, Mandarin, I'm listening to a lot more podcasts in Mandarin, or like all the time. And so what I've found really valuable about that is that certain of these podcasts, like a podcast always has like a catch line or a catchphrase. You kind of pick stuff up by osmosis, and really, if you're just listening to something over and over again, you just kind of, it really sinks into your brain. And there have been times, over this past month when I've been doing this fast, that I've just noticed myself, these certain catchphrases, they'll come up and just randomly, come into my brain, and you realize that you really learn a lot by osmosis and just by not consuming, media in your native language. Just forcing yourself to consume media only in that language really, 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 really helps it sink into your brain. And now, granted, this is something that is more effective when you're at you're in a more advanced level of language learning. But even if you're at a beginner level, it's still really helpful, and you can kind of do a modified version of it, where for example, you just say, okay, I'm not going to listen to any music in my native language, and only listen to music in the language I'm studying, because even that, it certain things just kind of stick into your brain. Now, certain lyrics just get caught in your brain, and the brain is really a pretty amazing organ. It's very spongy, and it just absorbs some of these phrases, and it repeats them, and it just kind of naturally tries and says, okay, well, I'm getting flooded by this input that I don't really understand. Let me try and make some sense out of it, right? So yeah, that's really all I had to share, and I'll keep you updated with this as I go through it. Apologies I haven't been recording videos as frequently as I'd like to be, but I definitely hear all the comments you guys have been, posting, and I definitely would like to be posting more frequently. So hopefully this is something that you guys can try and hold me accountable to. So yeah, I'll keep you updated with this stuff. Again, please subscribe. If you like what you see. And yeah, I'll keep you updated, and I also have some other projects that I'm working on that I'm sure at some point I will keep all of you updated on. So thanks for watching, and again, please subscribe. See you next time.